Our Lunch and Learn presenter today, Andrew Eklund, the founder and CEO of Ciceron. Ciceron has been very involved in our events over the past couple of years. We're thrilled to have Andrew in this position today to talk to you a little bit about what they're up to over at their agency. From anarchy to zen, how one agency said F-bomb it and changed the rules. So with that, please give a warm welcome to Andrew Eklund.
Thanks, buddy.
Can you steer your thunder?
Yeah, no, this is great. You know, when I came up with that title, I forgot I was writing it for a presentation. I thought I was writing it for a BuzzFeed, like, clickbait thing, but that was literally me sitting in my office saying, I have no idea what to call this thing, so I just, like, threw it out there. And then I talked to Carrie, if you want to raise your hand, Carrie, who's my dear friend and sidekick, said, yeah, I think we can go with that. So, at any rate, thank you very much. So I've been coming to MediaPost conferences for several years now. We've been really involved, and I love these events. But I've never sponsored before. So I decided that, and I've also never, or very rarely ever seen agencies on stage. So I thought, well, let's do that. Let's spend a shit ton of money and go someplace nice. And then proceed to spend the next 25 minutes telling you all the reasons why, if you do the things that I'm going to recommend today, you don't need me. So does that seem like a perfectly reasonable deal? Right? I spend a lot of money to tell you that you don't need to hire me. Which just proves once again that I have, for the past 23 years, run a digital agency, and I've always tried to find the hardest way to make money. Okay, so this is just falling in a long line of that. So I am going to talk to you a little bit about what we've been doing at the agency that really reflects sort of what we see in the market every day. I get to spend a lot of time inside brands, not inside many other agencies. We're seeing some of the trends. I understand the temptation to bring things in-house. I think I would too. That temptation really comes from, frankly, the agencies sort of screwing around with you on money and transparency and where do the dollars go. We decided quite a while ago to say we're going to show the spreadsheets, going to show everybody how a CPM works, how all this ad tech works. We're just going to be very open about all of that. The other temptation to bring things in-house is a sense of control, and you have your data. I get that. I think that makes reasonable sense. However, I'm going to show you a bunch of unreasonable things that get in the way of oftentimes doing that. So in exchange for me trying to be 100% truthful with you about what I see, first of all, you need to believe that I'm being truthful, and I just hope you will. In exchange for my truthiness, although yesterday apparently Rudy Giuliani said that truth is not truth anymore, so at any rate, I don't know what to say anymore. In exchange for that, if what I say resonates with you, and you were saying to yourself, boy, I really do need a new partner, that is why we're here. That's why I spent 30 grand to be up here on stage. Do have a new pair of socks, by the way, for that. Okay, so first of all, just a little bit about why me, because I wonder that every day. This is a picture taken in 1996, a year after I started Ciceron. And Ciceron is still, to this day, one of the first digital agencies in the country. So I started it after spending a lot of time in the early 90s in the Bay Area and watching the early internet. I remember downloading Mosaic the day that it was launched as the first web browser. I remember when we went from 2400 to 9600 baud modems and thought, oh my God, we can finally put pictures on the internet. This is amazing. But one of the things I could never do is I could never figure out how to convince clients that, for example, people would buy things online. Right? This is not, I mean, Jeff Bezos is now the most wealthy person in the world, excuse me. And so we started another company called IndieSonic, which was an online music retailer. And I simply did it just to prove people that people would actually buy stuff online. And so I tell you this because this picture was taken, and we did dissect, by the way, the outfit. The outfit was a mock turtleneck, wide cords, very tapered, with a cuff on the bottom, probably fairly high-waisted and some Doc Martens. And 60 pounds ago. At any rate, so on Thursday, I turned 50. I won't be with you. Sorry, I'll be with all the people from the Data and Programmatic Summit, and nerds know how to throw down, all right? So I turned 50, so this is the only thing I know how to do in my life. So if we're looking for any credibility, this is literally all I've ever done in my entire adult life, pretty much. So hopefully we can have some fun. So Cicerone, just so you know what it means, a cicerone is a guide, is a trusted guide, which is really what we try and do here. And secondly is we believe that the consumer is always right. They're always right. There's nothing I can do. All the changes and sort of the chaos that we live in every day isn't because the technology people threw at us. It isn't because Jeff Bezos invented a company. It isn't because Steve Jobs invented the iPhone or the iPod, which just completely disrupted everything. It's because the people wanted all of it and they incorporated all of this into their lives. And if we think we're going to change people, that is an uphill battle that I'm not willing to fight. And rather, I love people, and I love consumers, and we should respect them, and that's the brands that respect them are going to get much further ahead. So we came up with this term not that long ago, and it's kind of becoming our new brand positioning. By the way, you are the first test case study for this new brand positioning. So if you hate it, it's early on. I haven't printed anything that says anything on it or anything, so we're good. But actually, our chief copywriter, Sam, came up with this, and I just love it. It's a sense of Zen anarchy. It's this idea that the chaos and the lawlessness of the internet and brand building that's around us all the time is extraordinarily powerful. There's so much kinetic energy built into that chaos that if we can harness that and contextualize it, I've heard the word contextual a lot today, and I think it's such an important one, that if we can do that and we can harness that power and really align it against these consumers, that it brings really a sense of calm and really determination. We want to know more. We want to serve them more. We want to build brands that are highly experiential, that people love. And when we do that, that is that sense of Zen, it's that sense of calm. It doesn't deny anarchy. It recognizes fully that that is just what we live in, and that's what we're going to do. But we're going to harness that power and then have this sense of calm about it because we know what to do with it. It really breaks down into four sort of key areas that I see every day, and it's really obviously in the area of media, technology, creative, and people. I don't mean to have people last. It's just that I have one of my favorite slides near the end, so that's why that's there. People are the most important things. The other term that I want to make sure that we talk about that I made up here is called Zenile. Denial is that calm feeling you get when you are in total denial. And we've all done it, right? It's like, whew, thank God my customers aren't on Snapchat. Don't have to worry about that anymore, I guess. Or I've been told that there's going to be a platform that's going to launch in like 18 months, and our IT people are working on that. And that makes me feel pretty good, right? That's 18 months that I can get back in my life that I never need to worry about. That is called Zenile. So let's talk a little bit about media. Let's just start with media. It is the most chaotic of all of this. And so some of this is tongue-in-cheek, and maybe doesn't even apply to anybody in this room, because you guys are the smartest people in the industry. That's why you're here. Okay, everybody else is an idiot. All right? So that's the reason why you're here. So in the media case, this idea of Zenile, and just let me tell you, I hear this all the time. Our customers are different. I know what's going on over there, everything else. Our customers are different. They're old school. I hear this in B2B marketing all the time. They won't respond to that kind of channels. They love our direct mail. Our response rates are through the roof. We go to the trade shows. They love the tchotchkes. These are who they are. They'll never change. That is super strong Zenile going on right there, and this sense of calm of like, I don't need to worry about this stuff. Anarchy, on the other hand, when it comes to media, is believing that every new channel is important. Who's the most guilty person of this in your organization? Yeah, some of you are whispering it. CEO, right? Reads an article on the plane, comes back Monday morning. What the hell is our Pinterest strategy? Right? You guys work for Caterpillar or like Lockheed Martin. I don't know. Right? It's like, it's not everything is always important, right? Not everything is important. So Zen anarchy is knowing your audiences so well, using all of that data through empirical data, not anecdotal data. Okay, so like if you go down and you talk to your head salesperson, the head salesperson says, this customer is so mad right now, we pissed them off with that campaign, right? That's an anecdote. That is not empirical data. That is one touch point. So the idea, the ability to have empirical data that allows us to fully understand customers, what they need, what they want, what channels they're in, and then being able to move money around quickly, right, measuring against actual business outcomes. The move money around thing is fascinating to me, and I've been spending the last sort of probably 4 years of my life trying to figure this one out. One of the things I did was I realized that there wasn't anything on the market that could help us centralize all of our personas and our segments for our clients. I would say to them, who are your personas? Well, we did a website redesign 3 years ago, and we did some persona research, and they take down the 3-ring binder, and they blow the dust off it and flip through it, right? And I said, that's not good enough. First of all, the only person who can access those personas or your segment data is whoever has the 3-ring binder. So unless you've printed up 3,000 of those, that's great. So we developed our own sort of CX tool. And yes, this is a total pitch right here. And we did it because I couldn't understand why you would go to the sales organization, the marketing organization, the finance organizations, and somebody completely had a different idea about who the segment was. So we developed this platform called Ciceron CX that centralized all the information about personas, including up-to-date research, whether that's third-party research like a Forrester, Gartner, et cetera, Nielsen, all of this, anything you subscribe to, right? And then we'd pull in things like performance from the campaigns that we've run against that segment. So we know, like, they said they were going to do this, this is what they actually did. So all campaign performance is all in there. And then on the far screen, we did this thing called a day in a life, which is basically like, who is this person? How do they live? Like, they're a doctor, right? We do a lot of work in medical. They wake up in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. They hit a Stairmaster. Is that a thing anymore? Stairmaster? I don't know. Whatever, some sort of machine, right? And then they listen to a podcast. Or they get in their car and they listen to a podcast, and it's a medical podcast. They are in surgery between 8 o'clock and 1 o'clock. Not a good time to market to doctors, right? And then they eat lunch at their desk. They might check their email. And then they are working all afternoon. And then in the evening, they are no different than you or I. They're on Facebook, right? They're in Google. They're in YouTube, which, by the way, thanks for mentioning YouTube. #2 largest traffic site on the internet, right? So at any rate, at that person, they're no longer a doctor, they're just a person. Point being is we centralize all this into one place called Ciceron CX. And it's been transformative for our clients because they now can say, before the big meeting that we're going to talk about this segment, we want everybody across the organization to just get familiarized with who they are, current research, not 3 years old stuff that we did when we did a website redesign, and here's how they've been performing to our campaigns via content, channel, and so forth. It's been great. So look at this amazing animation there. Boom, so open for beta. I can use Keynote. If you are interested to like test this thing out, I'm telling you, it's beta software. We do a one-off right now with our clients. It works great. It's lovely. It's not something you can like click and put it on your phone and be off to the races. But if you want to do this, talk to Carrie or myself. We'd be happy to get you set up. The other thing about media is we're making this assumption, and I don't think it's that bold of an assumption, that all channels are going to be bought in a biddable way, programmatically, whatever you want to call it. Everything. We're buying TV right now. So connected TVs, I think right now are about 65% US households. Spend against that is 8%. Huge gap between where the people are and where the money is right now. We think all TVs moving into being bought in a biddable way. We think we are already currently buying out of home right through the trade desk, just like we would be buying display. We're buying out of home inventory, and then all of the other things, all the things. we believe that everything is going to be moving that way. And so getting a handle on how to trade against that is going to become a key discipline to have moving forward. The other thing I want to talk about is, and this to me is like my raison d'etre. It's just, I believe so passionately with it. How many of you have your own in-house agency where you're trading against all the channels in real time? Yeah, maybe a little bit, some way. What I see more often than not, and I know this sounds like a total land grab on my part, and I completely get it, and I'm guilty as charged. But what we find right now is that there's about 3 or 4 different agencies that are involved, and people who are not doing this in-house. They have a social agency who are managing organic, which, as we all know, is like impossible to manage these days because of invisibility across a lot of the channels, and who's doing their paid social. You've got your search company that's doing all of your paid search, and then you have your ad agency who's kind of doing programmatic, but it's most likely outsourcing it to the demand-side platforms directly. They're not even looking at your dollars. They're giving it to the trade desk or whomever, and the trade desk taking care of it. What are you going to do? Remember when we went back to this idea about the persona and the segments? What are you going to do if you have to move money around? I assume that you're giving your agencies budget that they're going to manage. Well, what happens if one of the segments decides that they don't perform well in that particular case, and you need to wire $100,000 from your search agency over to your social agency? Okay, I've never wired another agency any of your money. And it would be very difficult for me to do that. Partially because you've asked me to be stewards of your money, not somebody else. And secondly, human behavior, we're all capitalists, and we're trying to figure out how to have financially healthy businesses. So anyways, this idea of having agencies all over the place managing these different touch points, you're in the business of managing agencies. And I don't know if you want to do that. We're a bunch of weirdos. Okay? So I decided to centralize all of it. And we have all of these like crazy smart people across these disciplines who are anchored in that audience data, and the money sits independent of the channels. So we're moving money, as you folks just said in the last panel earlier, moving money around all the time. So a media plan is only as good as that first day. Because by the afternoon, you're already monitoring what's happening and moving money around. That is impossible to do if you have numerous agencies managing it. First of all, they have to agree on their own KPIs, just like you guys talked about shared KPIs inside. Now you're talking about 3 or 4 different agencies having shared KPIs. It's crazy. And so we went this route, and it's been great. I mean, literally moving money around all the time. I just want to talk to you really quickly about a quick campaign that we ran for Dua Lipa. We do a lot of work with Warner Music Group, and one of their labels, of course, is Warner Brothers Records. And so I just want to talk a little bit about how this works. So we decided that we wanted to have a campaign whereby we would buy digital billboards for Dua Lipa. How many of you know Dua Lipa? Right? She became like the #1 streamed artist like in history not that long ago, and was unknown about a year ago here in the United States. So we geofenced a billboard. We were able to buy that programmatically. We were able to get device IDs, store the device IDs of people who were around that billboard for the 8 seconds that the billboard was on, store the device IDs, and then work with our Spotify partners to do a remarketing campaign to help integrate her and for streaming and get added to playlists. Okay? This is the first time this was ever done. And my point being isn't to say, hey, isn't this cool? My point being was that we had to work with 3 different technology partners who had never done this before, and we needed to have an advocate on staff who could just dream this up and say, this is the right thing to do for the consumer. Yes, including scraping your device IDs. I know, creepy cool, right? Right? This is the right thing to do for the client, but these clients have never worked together. These platforms have never worked together. So we're pulling in Vistar and Spotify, and I can't even remember who the data partner was, and getting them all on the phone and say, here's what we're going to do. And now we're scaling this across other campaigns, and it just makes a lot of sense. And I've been talking to Matt from Live Nation. It's like instead of a billboard, I want to do this for the Forum in LA, or I want to do this for any venue, any concert venue, because it's just a geofence, right? So just to give you an idea of like how complicated this can be, because oftentimes the partners have never even worked together. They have no idea what you're asking until you have a vision in place. The last thing I want to say about media is just that we're moving a lot of stuff around all the time. So if you're doing this in-house, you need people who are just complete data science nerds that are also coupled with great creative people so that they can figure out how to throttle all of these different sort of iterations based upon consumer behaviors. I haven't figured out a way to do it more simply than this. It's just complicated. It's just really complicated. I'm not trying to like blow smoke around here. It's just, these are all the things that people do. And people are messy, super messy. And they don't ever do anything exactly the way you wish they would. That would be great. And by the way, talk about Zenile, right? You know what? Screw all this stuff. We're going to direct mail and magazines. That would be awesome. Like, that, what a great career. I mean, just to go back in time. Last thing I want to mention about media real quick is that when you do this, I just want you to understand that the media budgets change a lot. And so when you get a media plan, either from your agency or your in-house people, that's just a starting point. And what actually happens by the end of the campaign is your allocations change completely. And it's really fun to see, right? It wasn't like we totally missed it with Instagram, with Dua Lipa. It's just that when you got into the market, it was more, her activity was more than we originally budgeted. So we pulled money from the other channels and put it in there for maximum performance, right? And I wasn't held accountable to like, well, you said you were going to spend so much money in Snapchat and then you didn't spend any money in Snapchat? It's like, no, Snapchat didn't work. You didn't hire me to do a Snapchat campaign. You hired me to make sure that you had maximum number of streams on Spotify or iTunes, et cetera. So this to me is really important, just this understanding that it moves around and it's really fun to be able to know that you're doing it right. All right, let's talk about technology for a few minutes. So Zenile is, we've got a platform. It's not here yet, but it will be, right? What do I mean by that? How many of you have gone through like a Salesforce integration or an Adobe DMP or, you know, all these sort of things? You're hostage for whatever. But when it gets in place, it's going to solve all of your problems, right? That's Zenile. Anarchy is we don't have everything and everything all at once. Meaning, I've got this department over here that uses ExactTarget. I've got this one over here that uses SilverPop. I got this one. By the way, I just named 2 obsolete brands and 2 examples right there. One's Salesforce, one's IBM. Anyways, you get the picture, right? These guys are using Google Analytics. This one's on Omniture. You know, it just is all over the place. And so when you talk about centralizing, it just gets to be completely messy because every department or every brand is signing up their own data platforms and tools. So Zen Anarchy is being able to test and onboard tools as needed, anchored in great first-party data that we control and we can interpret through real-world insights about ourselves. So if you're going to standardize on anything, you know, the world that we've looked at is we basically said, we have to figure out how do we get our clients as much first-party data as we possibly can, right? First-party data, email addresses, pixel data, CRM data, all this kind of stuff. Because this is your money. We have a couple of clients who they believe their first-party data is the IP value of their entire company, right? We were just talking about Ticketmaster, right? That's a data that literally Wall Street values, you know, and says that's incredible data. All the credit card companies and everybody else is the data. Clients have to start thinking about that. Brands have to start thinking about that and say, how much first-party data do we have? How much do we know about our customers? If you don't know a lot, you're completely beholden to have to go out to market to buy the data that you could possibly have on your own. So what I always like to try and figure out is let me get as much data as I possibly can so that when I go out to market, I'm only buying the data that I need to supplement it, to add some new data points, to go to scale, you know, all of those key points. But whenever I run a campaign, one of my KPIs is how much first-party data am I gathering through that campaign, either through pixel data, email opt-ins, social follows, a little less valuable than it used to be. And that becomes key. So what we've really spent a lot of our time on right now is where is data's happy place? And I've spent months and months, if not years, of research with my team trying to find the best in class. I can't find the best in class on the DMP side, which is the right side, so we sort of offer all of them because they're so nuanced and so interesting. We're very close with Adobe. I love it. Love you guys. You're my brothers and sisters. Salesforce is, a behemoth, and, not going to fight them. It's very, very good stuff. Brand new one, Cortex. Anybody heard of Cortex? They have an ability to perhaps bring in social profile data, which is a walled garden data. So we're very interested to see what happens with Cortex. On the left side is Domo. Any Domo users in the room? Awesome. So we have decided to standardize on Domo as the place where all of the data goes, not just pixel and audience data, which is on the right side, but all of your data, CRM data, all of the DMP data that would come in, sales and operations, literally across the entire ecosystem of the company. And one of the things that Domo has done that we really, really like is they've elevated a very visual representation of company performance into a mobile experience. And I can't name names, but a very large, maybe the second largest retailer in the world based in Minneapolis. The CEO of that company is probably one of the most prolific users of Domo. Just can literally look at performance. And so we've just found that to be an incredibly powerful platform. And so again, I'm not pitching you any of this stuff. I'm just saying I've done a ton of research. If you want to maybe get there faster, take a look at this stuff. Again, we'd be happy to share with you what we've learned in this particular process. Okay, creative, and I'm starting to get the cane here from John. Creative, real quick, super important. Zenile is our designers know our brand. For what? Right? I think it's great that they know the brand, but are we talking about brand palette, color palettes and things like this? Not necessarily sure that's super helpful. Anarchy is our designers know nothing about creating experiences in emerging channels. They're great at trade show booths, they're great at sales collateral and everything else. To repurpose them in digital, it's a huge uphill battle. By the way, even the schools aren't teaching it very well right now, and I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for saying that, but it's true. We're having to do a lot of remedial sort of education. If you're going to do this yourself, what I'm saying is the Zen anarchy is get everybody sitting together and working together. Creatives and media people in particular working together. The media people know the nuances of Facebook and Instagram, right? They know how Snapchat's supposed to work from a creative standpoint. And the creatives need to have that interface every single day working directly with the media people in order to make good decisions about how those experiences are supposed to come together. Unfortunately, they oftentimes sit in completely different areas or with several different agencies. The breakdown is tremendous between the brand creative agency and all of your media agencies, and they aren't communicating with one another. The misses are amazing and consistent and constant. God, I don't want to skip stuff, but anyways, I might have to skip stuff. This is just a real quick example of a campaign that we're running for a client that is sort of in the modeling stage right now, a pop-up concert around colleges and universities, right? It's this idea that that's super non-digital. Or is it, right? Super digital, right? You got all these people gathering around for a concert. Maybe it's a hip-hop concert, whatever else. Every single one of those college students is going to be completely armed to the hilt with their mobile devices, creating content like nuts. And we want to do things like create Spotify playlists and all sorts of geo-targeted areas of being able to help them understand and live their lives. People, patients and families who are local to that market to do streaming live sort of FaceTime-like interactions, and so that this brand really comes to life. And it goes from just being a concert pulled on a stage behind a bus to being a living, breathing, scalable experience that acknowledges in the planning stages all the different touch points that are going to happen to bring that to life. And once again, gather a whole bunch of new pixel data that we can then remarket once that goes back on the truck and across campus to some other university. This is how media and creatives have to work together. All right, the last one. I'm going to go to the last one. Sorry. Instagram carousel is super cool. You guys love that stuff. I'll show it to you later. People. Denial is believing that your past skills will get you there. Digital is very, very difficult to take past skills and reapply them into this world. Some people in direct marketing have done a pretty good job of it, but most other disciplines have really, really struggled. And we've seen that with television and others. Taking your TV spot and putting it on YouTube pre-roll is not leveraging the power of what YouTube can do, for example, or any of the other new vertical video platforms. Anarchy, of course, is having no idea what skills are needed to succeed, right? And Zen anarchy is having a team that it can adapt and learn without fear of reprisal. Being able to fail and having leaders totally comfortable with uncertainty. You're testing all the time. So when you test, 8 of the things are going to fail. And you have to have a culture that accommodates that. To put a sort of end cap on this, to staff this yourself, you are trying to find unicorns, okay? These people who are on the stage here today, they are the unicorns. I don't think they're surrounded with all of the unicorns on their staff necessarily, and if you do, you've accomplished something absolutely amazing. So I just want everyone to know that that does not happen easily. These are not easy people to find. And my last slide is basically saying that there are some warning signs if you're trying to recruit. That's right, I know Keynote. Do not hire anybody that has ninja, guru, or expert in their LinkedIn profile. If somebody says they are, they absolutely are not, because it says that they've achieved something that is an achievable thing. You cannot achieve expertise in the expert level and all of this stuff. Maybe in video gaming, you can't do it here. If you're hiring people who have media experience but have never logged into an actual demand-side platform, they are not a current media person. And I'm not talking about taking your money and just giving it to a DSP. I'm talking about actually trading on their platforms. Analysts who can screen grab. What I mean is people who can screen grab charts out of Omniture and Google Analytics and throw it into PowerPoint and say that is that's not doing analytics. That's called reporting. And if you want to do that, just give the CEO a login to the reporting dashboard. There's a lot more there than what's going to go into the PowerPoint. And finally, if you're evaluating creative and the only thing they have in their digital stuff is banners, we fully believe banners are going away at some point. I want to know more. What have you done with Instagram stories? What have you do with the new Snapchats, vertical videos, all these kind of things? And you know what? If it's a designer on the street, that's fine. They should be doing this at night and building up their creative portfolio. If you're only seeing banners, you're going to get banners. And if you get banners, you're not going to have any success. That is my presentation. And I'm happy to share this with everybody. Hopefully there are some nuggets in here that you find to be helpful and maybe even help build a story that you need internally. If you say, hell with this, I have a business to run, I would like to have an agency full of a herd of unicorns, that is what I have assembled over the past 23 years, and we would love to work with you, love to help, or even help you help build your own internal staff. I would do that as well. So thank you. I don't know if we're even doing questions under this format. All right.
Andrew, thank you so much. We probably don't have time for questions because we do have horseback riding that happens in about 15 minutes. We got to hustle. And the golf is teeing off.
Ecklander horses.
What's that? Yeah. But Andrew, you're here with some members of your fantastic team, right?
Carrie Helling, right over here.
Okay, great. So, great presentation. Thank you so much. And grab these guys tonight at cocktails or on the horse or wherever you're going to be, and please follow up with these guys because it'd be great to see you guys. Yeah, man, unicorns. Let's do this. Let's bring them back. Let's bring them back. Big round of applause for Andrew. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so as I said before, the horseback riding and the golf, it's 2 o'clock. We're going to hold the horses. We'll hold our horses for you to get back down to the lobby here, so we can take the shuttle out to the place. For the base camp, you can gather at 2 o'clock. You can gather at 2:30. You can gather at 3. Catch the shuttle over to the village, and then that takes you up the hill. And again, those shuttles return back here on the 15 and 45 minutes of the hours. tonight, wear your badges. We're going to meet down here at 6 o'clock, and we're going to roll at 6:10. Do not be late. Wear your badges tonight. We've got a lot of fun happening at Gar Woods for cocktails and dinner. And if you have the one-on-one meetings, you need to be in this room at 5 o'clock, or check your schedule. It's going to go 5 to 6 in this room. Okay, that's all I got. Thank you for a great morning. Have a great afternoon. Go outside. Do not work. It's beautiful out there. And enjoy Tahoe. And we'll see you tonight.